and welcome to a book podcast. In this episode, I will be reading a few paragraphs from the book Your Erroneous Zones by Dr. Wayne Dyer. Escape negative thinking and take control of your life. The blurb. Positive and practical advice for breaking free from the trap of negative thinking. If you are plagued by guilt and worry, and find yourself falling unwittingly into the same old self-destructive patterns, then you have erroneous zones, whole facets of your approach to life that act as barriers to your success and happiness. Dr. Wayne Dyer can help you break free. If you believe you have no control over your feelings and reactions, Dr. Wayne Dyer reveals how you can take charge of yourself and manage how much you let difficult situations affect you. If you spend more time worrying about what others think than working on what you want and need, Dyer points the way to self-reliance. From self-image problems to over-dependence upon others, Dyer gives you the tools you need to enjoy life to the fullest. Life is for living. That's the message of this book. In the book, Your Erroneous Zones, Dr. Wayne Dyer, a top psychiatrist, tells you how you can learn to be yourself and live the way you really want to live, whether it's dreaming by the fireside or conquering mountains. He explains how all those maddening little personality hang-ups that lead to dissatisfaction can be overcome and swept away to leave the board clean for a new look you. If there are times when you're not happy with yourself and your life, your erroneous zones may well provide the answer. Okay, so I'm just going to read some interesting sentences from the book. I'm now just going to read a couple of sentences from the first chapter and just paraphrase what he's saying. So in the first chapter, he talks about how change is tough. Like most people, every fiber of your being will resist having to take on the hard work of eliminating negative thoughts. If you are a healthy, happy human being, he says that you might find yourself thinking, I could have written this book. And he says, yeah, you're right, you could have. You don't learn these principles in a classroom or in a book. You learn them by being committed to your own happiness and by doing something about it. So another principle he talks about is repetition. He says that effective thinking which can alter self-destructive behavior, does not occur just because it's said once. An insight must be repeated and repeated and repeated again. Only then, when it is fully accepted and understood, do you begin to alter behavior. So it's repetition of positive thinking. You are the sum total of all the choices you have made in your life. Dr. Wayne Dyer says that he believes that with an appropriate amount of motivation and effort, you can be anything you choose. There is only one moment in which you can experience anything, and that is now, the present moment, not the past, not the future. Yet, a great deal of time is thrown away by dwelling on the past or being anxious about future experiences. Turning your now into total fulfillment is the touchstone of effective living, and virtually all self-defeating behaviors, i.e., your erroneous zones, are efforts at living in a moment other than the current one, other than the present one. So these erroneous zones, these negative state of being, is when you're living either in the past or living in the future, but not in the present moment. So he then talks about, with careful reading of this book, you'll begin to ask yourself questions that maybe never occurred to you before. Questions such as, why am I choosing to feel upset right now? And how can I make more effective use of my present moments? These are internal queries of a person moving away from erroneous zones toward self-reliance and happiness. I should have explained what erroneous means. Erroneous basically just means wrong or incorrect. The book then concludes with a brief portrait of a person who has eliminated all erroneous zones and is living in an internally rather than externally controlled emotional world. Okay, so I'm just going to end this episode with a poem that was written by Dr. Wayne Dyer's friend called Doris Warshay. She wrote this after hearing one of his lectures. She titled the poem New Directions. I want to travel as far as I can go. I want to reach the joy that's in my soul and change the limitations that I know and feel my mind and spirit grow. I want to live, exist, to be, and hear the truths inside of me.